Welcome back to our building block series. I'm Cindy Cloward and I'm going to show you how to make the Churn dash block. It is one of my favorites. It uses 4 half square triangles and then incorporates this strip piece unit. These are the supplies needed. This is a skill builder series and we've already taken you through half square triangles. We're going to make those again, but I'm going to teach you how to create these strip piece units. There's 2 ways. First, you can have your fabrics already cut out and put them right side together just like that and chain piece them. And we have instructions for that. That's a perfectly easy way to do that. But I'm going to teach you another skill. It's called strip piecing. And you take 2 strips of fabric, and instead of cutting them up individually like this, you're going to sew it in one long unit using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now when you have a long piece of fabric, this is about 20 inches long, it's really easy for the fabric to move a little bit and your seam to be a little wonky. So you're going to have to pay attention to make sure you have a nice 1/4 inch seam allowance down the whole entire strip. And you want to make sure your fabrics are lined up. So I always throw some pins in along the way so it doesn't shift. Again, you can pin as much or as little as you'd like. Let's take it to the machine and sew. Okay, we've sewn down our entire strip. Just take a look, make sure your stitching is nice and straight. Take it over to your pressing station. I give it a long press before I open up my seams like that, and I'm going to press to the dark side. Now, how you're going to save yourself an extra step is I'm going to square up all at once. So I'm going to get my square up ruler. I'm going to cut off this end first. And again, this middle line you put right on your seam. Flip it over. And you need 4 of these units. You shouldn't have to trim on the top and the bottom. If you've got a proper 1/4 inch seam allowance, you just need to trim up on your sides, making 4.5 inch little units, just like that. Okay, so your strip piece units are finished, ready to go. I'll just put that right here. Now we're going to work on creating our half square triangles. Again, you've done this before. I'll just remind you how easily it is done. Take your ruler. On just 2 of the blocks, you're going to use your marking tool, going corner to corner. Goes off just a little bit on that. Make sure your corner to corner is lined up. Okay, now put right sides together. I'm using solids, so it doesn't matter as much with solid fabrics because it's dyed fabric. But if you have a print, you definitely want to put right sides together. I'm going to put it in a pin in each block so it doesn't shift around when I sew. Now this is a reminder, this is not your sew line, this is your guide, and you're going to sew on each side of this line using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Let's take the machine and sew. Okay, inspect your stitching, looks good. I'm going to cut my chain piecing threads there. And that same line can be your cutting line. Cut right down the center. We've created 4 units. Okay, I give them a quick press. To save time, I usually do it all together. Now I'm going to open up my quilt blocks, ironing to the, pressing to the dark side. Let it cool off underneath a clapper. Okay, bring up my rotating mat. Love this. Again, designed by Sue Daly. It's just a great tool to have. But you can square up your blocks if you don't have one of these rotating mats. Again, you got your 4.5 inch square up ruler. Line it up on the seam, just like that. See how easily that squares up? Repeat on all the other half square triangle units. Okay, we've got all of our little units squared up. Now it's time to assemble our quilt block. Okay, put that there. We have a center white block. That's what's so fun about the churn dash. You can always do something fun in the center of a churn dash if you have something you want to highlight or fussy cut. That's why I love this unit. So all the corners are your half square triangle with the dart facing in. And these strip piece units go in the middle of those. Now we're ready to sew it together. Again, just like we've done previously, we are going to take this center section, flip it over, right sides together. Put a pin on top. I'm going to chain piece these together. Let's sew. Okay, bring it back to your design board. Lay it back out, open it up. Again, I don't press at this stage. Now we're going to flip the outside to the inside. Right sides together. Okay, let's take the machine and sew. Okay, we've got our sections sewn together. Now we're going to sew all 3 units together. Let's start with the outside unit towards the center. Again, I'm going to decide which way I want my seams to go. And I'm going to press, because you want these seams to kind of nest. So I'm going to finger press this seam going out and this seam's going in. Just kind of finger press and put a pin in there. Pin on the end. Let's take the machine and sew. Right, let's take a look. Make sure your units all line up. You have that nice little square that looks perfect. Let's take this last unit over, fold it over, right sides together. And we're going to just nestle those seams together. Okay, let's take a look. All our corners match up perfectly. Let's give it a press. We're going to square it up. All right, let's lay our block down. And what we want to see is each of these points on our half square triangle 1/4 inch from the edge. So we lay this down and we can see we've got those in those half square triangles. You can line up your grid. You can see all your seams are in the right place. And I am not seeing any place that I really need to trim. Maybe just a little bit on this side. But line it all up. And if you're super accurate, sometimes you don't even need to trim at all. I think that is it. And your churn dash is finished. Congratulations! Join us next time as we create the Ohio Star.